We're hanging out doing a series of videos, just spending some time together. I'm down here in Kentucky. I get to see my grandparents for the first time in a long time, literally
Yay,
over a year.
vaccinations.
And I thought we'd swing by. If you're familiar with Max, if you've enjoyed seeing him on the channel, he's no longer part of Quackalope.
Because you moved.
He's launched his own thing. There'll be a link in the top of this description down below. Now, you already know the title of this video.
I don't.
Max has no idea what we're filming or talking about, which means this is going to be just a genuine back and forth conversation around the topic that I have chosen. And also, my grandparents got me this duck.
Which has no wings.
We noticed it's got no wings.
No
It
arms.
also has some of the funniest feet and just that extended neck.
Yeah.
And here's the most adorable part.
It's pretty cute.
It's
But
got
the
a little-
no arms
it's got
freaked me out a little
chirp.
bit.
It's got a little chirp. So, Max, this video is titled My 3 Biggest Regrets as a Board Gamer.
Oh, man.
And you had no prep time.
No.
And for the record, I knew the title of this video. I also didn't consciously
yeah, I think you just thought about it right now.
I did. I just thought about it right now. So, when you hear that, what immediately is popping into your mind?
The first thing that just springs into my mind is probably wasting time on the wrong games for me. Time, money, spent hours playing, researching, trying to figure out my own little niche, which I still don't really know.
Yep.
I'm fairly new to the board game hobby, less than 2 years for the most part.
I'm probably, I think, maybe getting on 4 years.
Right.
But
yeah, so I still don't really know a lot of what I like. So many of the more heavy games I've not even experienced.
yeah.
But I figured out enough that I do feel like I was wasting time and especially money on games that aren't in my wheelhouse.
Is there any way you feel like you could have designed your approach into board gaming to not have that regret? Or, I mean, I'll even go easier for you, because we're both still doing that. Is there any way moving forward you could design the next steps so that you don't continue that regret?
Yeah, so actually I got quite lucky because it could have gone extremely poorly for me. When I started the hobby, it was Catan and Munchkin. And then basically Gloomhaven and Kingdom Death Monster. Those were like in my first 10 games I've ever acquired.
I went beginner D&D,
Yeah.
straight KDM.
Yeah. And you were the reason why I got KDM too. Yeah. Oh yeah, I messaged you about buying it, about any accessories I needed.
You were just a fan.
I was just a fan.
Yeah.
And here we are. I mean, look at that. Number 1 regret. Meeting no But so I got lucky that I enjoyed those games because I could have wasted so much money and time. I mean, fortunately I bought Kingdom Death Monster secondhand, still $250. Pretty good price though. For it, to
honestly,
be honest,
that's a deal.
Yeah, it was a steal.
steal.
It was a steal. But I could have wasted so much time.
I'd buy a 5th copy at
money
that
on
price right now.
You want it?
I mean,
and I enjoyed them, so I got lucky because I could have hated them. But that didn't really give me a great footing, you know? You jump right into Kingdom Death Monster and Gloomhaven, and you still haven't figured out anywhere in between.
I jumped straight into Kingdom Death, and when I started buying other games, even to this day, I think to myself, oh.
I'd rather just play Kingdom Death.
No.
Oh, okay.
I see a $50 game, I'm like, that's an 1/8 of Kingdom Death.
That is true. And that might be a bad thing. That we started with heavy hitters.
Like, instead of thinking, that's 12 pandemics,
right.
I think,
wow, that's a quarter of Kingdom Death.
that's a quarter of Kingdom Death.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
That's probably another bad thing, is that our frame of mind are...
Is that a regret? Are you putting that on your regret?
Sure.
Okay.
But we only have 3.
Only 3. Space for 3.
Nah, it's not going on. I don't even know my other 2.
I get 3. You're cutting that one, though?
I'm cutting it.
First big regret that you added to your list. Time and money
spent
wasted.
on the wrong games. Yep.
On the wrong games. Interesting. I don't know why I ended your conversation, because
Yeah, that wasn't finished.
I'm not ready to start mine.
I'm not
so
ready to start my next one.
If you want to continue the one you were talking about, let me just...
Okay, I'll start a new one. Can I go twice in a row, or would you prefer me not?
I prefer you to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think my second biggest regret, I'm not ordering these in order of regret, but my second of 3 biggest regrets is probably failing to introduce so many games because I expected people to be as invested as I was. I expected my mom and my dad and my wife and my friends who don't care about board games to be as into this and as invested as I am, that I introduced them to wacky games.
I tried multiple friend groups on KDM.
Yeah, that aren't going to grip that.
Yeah.
That I learned having played that and introducing them and watching them crumble. Like when you got the aux cord and you're like, hey, listen to this banger, and you plug it in, and they're sitting there, and then halfway through the song, you're like, yeah, that's about it. Like, you unplug it, you're like, yeah, that's it, and they don't even react. That was introducing board games when I first started the hobby, because I didn't care what I was playing. I still do, but I've learned to just get over it. I want to introduce everyone to everything. Everything that I love. I want to play Cosmic Frog with everyone. I want to play Cthulhu Death May Die with everyone. But I've learned I can't just do that, because it's not the right approach to take at all.
First biggest regret.
Okay. It's the second time you've cut me. I wasn't done talking.
Trusting a single content creator for everything that I thought the industry was.
Listen, I love Shut Up and Sit Down, and I don't care
I didn't even
what
say that.
Jesse's about to tell you about that.
No, I didn't even say their name. You brought them into this.
I love them.
When I first got into the hobby space, I became enamored with Shut Up and Sit Down, a little bit of Rado, not that much Watch It Play, to be honest. I didn't need to learn games. I was just buying
Oh, he's
games.
great, but yeah, he's not introducing you to games you should try. He's teaching you how to learn them once you've acquired them.
And I watched everything they produced. I not only watched everything they produced, I immediately purchased
Everything they recommended.
everything they recommended.
Sure.
A year later, I found myself going,
I hate all of these.
why don't I enjoy so many of these amazing board games? There must be a problem with me.
Sure.
Because they introduced the hobby in a way that got me excited and impassioned.
The way they speak about games
is amazing.
Yeah.
But this extends onto my channel. It now extends onto your channel.
Sure.
I really think we as content creators have a responsibility to be careful the way we present something and try our best to let the audiences understand what they will and won't like. What are the mechanics and levers and pieces of the game that they're able to pull so that they can start identifying why they enjoyed a title. I didn't do that when I got into the hobby. I spent a ton of money, but this isn't a money critique. I spent a ton of hobby enthusiasm and loyalty on titles that really, if I'd been paying enough attention or if I knew a little bit better, they just weren't right for me. Because they were coming from a content source that was consistently choosing games that just weren't right for me. I still really, really admire and love what Shut Up and Sit Down does. I think they have introduced so many people to our hobby space.
But you've learned.
And I'm grateful for that. But if they put out a video saying, we got mixed feelings on this game,
You're probably like, I'm going to love it.
I'm paying a lot closer attention than if they put out a video saying this one was perfect for us. Because so far, the games that have been perfect for them, they haven't fit into my collection.
I'll say that you find content creators that particularly align with your
You
views.
do. And I think the space is widened a lot.
Oh yeah, there's so
since
many more
I
options
entered
and
in.
choices.
But I'd say I'd put that on a regret list.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of capital.
Yeah, don't put too much stock into anything Jesse has to say. It's
I think it's
basically the
reasonable.
short and sweet of what he's saying right now.
Keep all the Kingdom Death for me.
Yeah, I think it's very important to note that. I have found myself not loving everything they recommend, but I find myself personally my tastes align pretty well with theirs. And there are other content creators that I just don't play the same games they play, and that's okay.
Table Knots for one.
Yeah. Except for that's my channel.
That's the sad part. Another regret. Probably another, and one that I think extends to right now.
Okay. Oh, I've got one too. Don't tell me.
In
it's
4 years, including building a channel with 25,000 subscribers, I have not yet, and I am now beginning to reinforce the fact that I have not yet effectively learned how to read and learn a game, not only efficiently, but accurately. I rely so much on my game group, on my community, on Alex from Board Game Co., on Max and Sean.
Not me. You don't rely. I'm not a good teacher either.
We're
We're very similar in this
I can
regard.
teach a game. It's not that I have a problem with. If you've taught me a game, I can regurgitate and tell you
Right,
the
but
experience.
learning the rulebook by yourself and then trying to teach it.
Sitting down and in a efficient manner, studying, learning, tabling in a way that allows me to communicate that to my friends so they can experience the game with me, I am still not good at.
That is me
And
up
I
and down.
should be.
Yeah.
It limits the scope and limits the reach I have. in a really, really negative and notable way.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I don't know if it's I space out when I'm reading or something that it is, but I'm the same way. I struggle very much with reading a rule book, understanding it, and even if I think I understand it, I'll miss some things. And then trying to teach that, they're both almost two separate things, and I'm bad at them both. I'm not only bad at reading and learning, I'm also bad at the teach unless I fully grasp that game. I'm a fine teacher. If I understand the game really to a T, I love it, I can teach that. Otherwise, yeah, I deeply struggle with learning and regurgitating and digesting that information in that whole learning.
And I think part of it is I need to practice it.
Me too.
I need to learn how I learn.
I'm better now than I was 6 months ago.
But I haven't been practicing it.
Right.
And I should.
You just let other people teach you.
You got your third, I got my third. You ready to go, or?
I had it.
Awesome.
Start talking and I lost
so
it.
my third biggest regret
I gotta
in this board game space. Well, listen to my third.
I can't because I gotta think.
I have consistently, because of my own proclivity to be a little bit shy, a little bit awkward, convincing
Don't
myself.
tell me you're gonna take mine.
Convincing myself that people won't want to spend time playing games with me.
Don't tell me you're taking mine right now.
I don't claim mine just because you couldn't remember yours.
I know, but now
Say it with me then.
I mean, I'm not gonna say the exact thing you're gonna say. I'm sure.
But we'll work on it. Ready? On 1, 2, 3.
I wish I wasn't as shy and played in more board game groups because I could have had more fun and learned our games playing board games.
That was pretty close.
It was almost there.
Look, here's the thing that I've learned about this hobby space. There's so many other individuals that as desperately as you want to play games and want to have a community and want to be part of a game group, they want that just as much.
Yep.
And they're going to be so grateful if you start instilling the habits of someone that pushes past your comfort zone and says, I'm going to go talk to the person that's not currently playing a game at the table. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the person you want to play a game with.
May not be the
There are
case.
some people that are alone at a table, and there's a reason they're alone at the table. I'm sorry, I don't need to shy away from that reality. I've also been that.
That was you, yeah.
During high school, you didn't want to talk with me, and you
Still
had
don't.
good reason not to. But the friends that I've met, the people that I've connected with, the gaps that have been bridged, like, I'm so grateful for those relationships, and I do feel like I have let a lot of them pass, or I've let a lot of experiences pass due to my own insecurities and due to my own lack of understanding that the person across the room or the group across the room, they'll tell me if they don't want me there. But most of the time, they just really want to play a game.
Yeah.
And they sort of wish they had a third player. Or they wish they had a friend that would host a game night on Wednesday night.
Yeah. Hey, that was the night that my game night was.
And they don't. And when you invite them to, when you start reaching out, when you say, hey, we'll make this happen, I'll bring drinks, you bring pizza, and Sam's going to learn a game, it's so
Who's
good.
Sam?
It's so good.
Who's Sam?
You don't know about him yet.
That's my brother's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the same thing happened to me. I've only, even now, ever had 2 board game groups.
Yeah.
And one of them is you and Sean was a board game group for me. And I have another board game group.
And that came from me desperately going,
right.
Oh, dear God.
Desperately calling out
I
for
need
people in Kentucky
to come play games with me.
Absolutely. Fortunately, I'd known you and jumped right on top of that. But and then also came to play games with you. But I don't know how I got involved in my first game group. I genuinely don't remember who I interacted with first that got me to the table. But we had a Wednesday night board game group. And I'm still friends with those people. I really enjoyed going. I only went, I don't know, a dozen times before we were pregnant with our second kid. And I haven't been back since. And we have a third kid and a panini that we've been going through right now.
And a panini.
Yeah. You know, panna cotta.
Yeah.
Penicillin.
Well.
Yeah, it's not ending yet. But even still, I latched on to that group because they broke me out of my comfort zone. They are hardcore Euro heavy, mid-heavy games. And for me...
One of them's been on a diet.
Yeah, it's true. Not me, unfortunately. And then, for me personally, I'm that mid to light area, that thematic. You know, I enjoy Concordia, but it would have never struck me as a game to even try because of how dry and boring it is. So they broke me out of my comfort zone. But I still wasn't satisfied because, like, I had those friends that I saw on Wednesdays and no one else to talk about games with any day of the week,
Mm-hmm.
anytime I wanted to. And that's when, if I have to take a different regret other than yours, it would be that I didn't start. I guess I started coming to you as soon as I could have, but I didn't start my own
Sure.
thing and start branching out not only with people local to me, but just to the hobby.
Sure.
To the hobby on social media, on YouTube. Didn't start introducing myself to new different people and gaining friends that even if I may not see, I have a connection with that I can talk to about games 7 days out of the week.
Yep.
And I think coming and playing on your channel and seeing that, wow, this is a bigger thing.
Well,
people care
correct me if
about.
I'm wrong, but I believe you actually quoted, "I'm going to do my own thing. This is way easier than I expected it to be."
Maybe. I think I definitely said it was way more fun than I expected it to be. I'm upset easy. If I did, it ain't true no more. Now that I'm not the one running the show.
I think you saw it was accessible.
Yes, it was.
And for a long time, it didn't seem like it.
Yeah,
was.
you see these people online, and you just assume that there's something they've got that you don't. And then I met you, and I was like, you're pretty bog standard. Like, I'm cooler than you.
Probably below average in a lot of ways.
And that's what gave me the kick in the tail to really get this thing going.
So, the last thing that I can say looking into the future, because that was our 3 biggest regrets in this hobby.
Yes.
I can see a regret that I will have.
Okay.
That I'd like to do my very best.
Hanging out with me. Are you going to say it?
That I'd like to do my very best to avoid in the future.
Oh, okay.
I can see a scenario where as I start kind of growing a relationship in this hobby, growing a personal relationship, anything like that, I can see myself ending up in a situation where I don't share and I haven't facilitated or fostered a love of board games in my household, with my family, with my community, with whoever I am with and around. And I bring that up because was your wife into board games when you were initially?
No.
Because now you play together. And I know a lot of couples that do that. Alex up in Board Game Co. plays with Rena. We just had a great episode of Bunny Kingdom. It was an absolute blast.
I want to play that game, by the way.
And
Unrelated.
so for me, I think that's another big important thing that touches on all the regrets we've had historically. Learning how to teach games.
Yep.
Learning how to bring games
That's
to the
still
table
the
with
biggest
people.
goal I have, is nailing down that you're not someone who loves board games. Let me pick your brain. Find the game that I think will work for you. Introduce it to you and teach it well.
Even if you are someone who loves board games.
Sure, get them to something new.
How can you treat board games as more than just a tabletop experience?
Right.
Because
It's a
at
community
the moment,
building.
And eventually they are. They're a thing that staple together relationships. There's a thing that allow a moment of silence, step away from social media, bonding
Put the phones
time
down,
with the people
look
that you
each
care
other
about.
in the eyes,
It's the same reason.
talk over each other.
It's the same reason why I grew up playing and loving games and card games with my grandparents. Right? It's why I have fond memories of those.
Yeah.
So when I have a wife, when I have children, when I'm building a family like you are, like Alex is, in my mind, I feel like I need to preemptively make sure I don't regret
Not sharing.
overlooking or taking for granted my love of the hobby space. Because there's a lot of areas in this hobby space that may not be my favorite parts of them, but at the core of it, it's about facilitating and building relationships. So,
like ours.
like ours. So, it's been a video here on Quackalope talking about our biggest regrets when it comes to our time in the industry so far. Let me know your thoughts. What regrets do you have, and what in the future can you see as potential regrets that you're going to work to counterbalance or avoid? And if you made it to this part, remember to do the important thing.
Get out there and stare in somebody's eyes.
Subscribe to Table Knots.
Oh, that too.
We'll see you next time.